In the wise words of our Nigerian elders, a child who is carried on the back does not know how far the journey is. A proverb that reminds us how those in power sometimes forget the struggles of the people they lead, while the masses bear the full weight of every step taken or not taken in the name of democracy. Today, that burden is being felt keenly across Nigeria as former presidential candidate Peter Obi steps forward to lead a determined protest at the National Assembly, demanding mandatory electronic transmission of election results to safeguard the integrity of future polls. This na confirm street news. Na wetin we hear with the report, but be sure say na confirm. Abeg, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment to help us grow and bring you undiluted news. The scene unfolded on February 9th, 2026, right at the gates of the National Assembly complex in Abuja. Peter Obi, the former Labour Party flag-bearer and a prominent voice in the African Democratic Congress, joined hundreds of demonstrators from the national opposition movement, pro-democracy activists, civil society groups, Nigerian youths, and supporters of the Obidient Movement. Placards waved high with messages like, "Make electronic transmission of election results mandatory, defend democracy," and calls urging Senate President Godswill Akpabio to avoid undermining the Electoral Act. Chants filled the air as the crowd pressed for reforms, but heavy security from the Nigeria Police Force, Nigerian Army, Department of State Services, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, and other agencies barricaded the main entrance, preventing the protesters from advancing further. The demonstration remained peaceful, with participants respecting security directives to stay at the gate. At the heart of the protest is a clear and urgent demand: amend the Electoral Act to make electronic transmission of election results compulsory and real-time, directly from polling units to a public portal like the INEC result viewing system. Peter Obi addressed the crowd, thanking Nigerians for joining what he called a just call for a free, transparent, and fair electoral process. He emphasized that the demands are straightforward, starting with verifiable candidate qualifications advertised before primaries so citizens can scrutinize them, and crucially, mandatory real-time electronic transmission of results so the entire nation can monitor outcomes as they happen. He pointed to countries like South Africa and Ghana, where such systems are already in place, and lamented that Nigeria, often called the Giant of Africa, has refused to live up to that name in democratic practice. The protesters echoed this, insisting that without these safeguards, the process remains vulnerable to manipulation and erodes public trust. This push comes at a critical juncture for Nigeria's democracy. The 2023 general elections left deep scars, with widespread complaints about delays in result uploads, alleged technical glitches, and disputes that dragged through the courts for months. The Electoral Act of 2022 introduced electronic transmission as an option, but discretionary powers for INEC and subsequent legislative moves have fueled skepticism. Recent Senate debates on amendments to the Act saw lawmakers reject or alter clauses that would have mandated real-time transmission, opting instead to retain flexibility for the Commission, decisions that critics argue open doors to interference. With the 2027 elections on the horizon, civil society and opposition figures see these reforms as essential to restoring confidence, ensuring votes count accurately, and preventing a repeat of past controversies that left many feeling disenfranchised. Peter Obi, speaking directly to the gathering, highlighted the simplicity of the ask. Let the process be transparent from start to finish so Nigerians can be proud of their democracy. The Obidient Movement's national coordinator reinforced that the agitation will persist until real-time transmission is explicitly restored in the law. Security forces maintained order, ensuring the protest did not escalate, while the demonstrators held their ground peacefully to make their voices heard. The implications of this moment stretch far and wide. Politically, it signals growing unity among opposition elements and civil society in holding the National Assembly accountable, potentially pressuring lawmakers during the harmonization of the amendment bill between the Senate and House of Representatives. Socially, it reflects a deepening public demand for credible elections as ordinary citizens, youths, traders, professionals join calls to protect their right to meaningful participation. Economically, lingering doubts about electoral fairness can deter investment and heighten uncertainty as businesses and citizens seek stability. On the security front, peaceful protests like this demonstrate civic engagement without violence, though sustained tensions could test law enforcement's handling of larger mobilizations.
Public reactions have been swift and polarized. Supporters of the protest, particularly from opposition strongholds, hailed Obi's leadership as courageous and timely, seeing it as a stand against perceived attempts to weaken democratic safeguards. Social media buzzed with praise for the peaceful turnout and calls for more citizens to join future actions. On the other side, some voices aligned with the ruling party or Senate defended the legislative process, arguing that flexibility in transmission accounts for infrastructural realities in remote areas and that electronic systems are not rejected outright but refined for practicality. Others dismissed the protest as premature or politically motivated ahead of 2027. Yet the overwhelming sentiment among participants and observers was one of resolve. Nigeria deserves elections where results reflect the true will of the people. Looking forward, the coming weeks will be pivotal. The National Assembly's Harmonization Committee must reconcile differences between the chamber's versions of the amendment bill. If pressure from protests, civil society, and opposition figures mounts, lawmakers could reinstate stronger language on real-time electronic transmission, setting a higher bar for transparency. Failure to do so might spark intensified campaigns, more rallies, and legal challenges, keeping electoral reform in the spotlight. For Peter Obi and the broader movement, sustained momentum could position them strongly as champions of credible democracy heading into 2027, while testing the government's willingness to embrace reforms that enhance public trust. As we close this chapter, on a day when ordinary Nigerians made their voices echo at the seat of power, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Do you believe mandatory real-time electronic transmission is the key to fairer elections? And will this protest make a difference? If this story has you thinking about the future of our democracy, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more in-depth coverage of the issues shaping Nigeria, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Your engagement keeps these vital conversations alive and ensures we continue bringing you the facts that matter.